Hey everyone, Chris here from Varsity Gaming, and welcome back to the 16th episode of Siege School. Today will be another map knowledge episode, and it will be on the map Oregon. For those of you who didn't watch the last map knowledge video, basically this is a series discussing the layouts and formats of maps, including objective sites, callouts, and popular locations. And I've also added in a few other categories based on your suggestions in the last comments. One of which being that I added a table of contents down below in the description, so if you don't want to learn about a specific segment, then you can just skip to next segment with the timestamps down below. And to start off today's episode, we're going to be talking about the history of the map. In the last map knowledge, we didn't really have much to talk about because Chalet really doesn't have any real-life events that's tied to. Meanwhile, Oregon has a lot of history. So let's dive right into it. So like I said, Oregon has a huge history, and I could really go in to explain a lot about it, but it would probably take hours to actually talk about everything. So instead, I'm just going to give you the quick and dirty version of it. Oregon's based on a real-life event known as the Waco Raid or Waco Siege. It was an event that occurred in 1993 in the state of Texas. It was on a ranch near Waco inhabited by a cult. This cult was led by David Koresh, a man who believed himself to be the final prophet, and they called themselves the Branch Davidians. The raid and siege of the Waco compound was primarily due to several weapons violations and violent accusations towards other cults and societies in the area, and it was all initiated by the ATF, which is also known as the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, basically a US government agency. Initially, the ATF planned on just raiding the compound and easily taking down the cult. However, a lot of mistakes were made, and the raid itself was a disaster, resulting in 4 ATF agents dying as well as 5 Branch Davidians. And once the raid failed, the FBI took over and began operations to siege the compound. This fuck-up by the ATF is known as one of the biggest government agent organization failures in the US history. And it's also taught to all new ATF agents to understand what went wrong and how they can prevent that in the future. The siege ended with the compound being completely leveled after 51 days of siege. It started in February and ended in April. By the end of it, 76 Branch Davidians were dead, including David Koresh, and 11 members of the cult who left the compound before the final assault were arrested. The map itself draws a lot of similarities to the actual compound. As you can see in these aerial photographs taken before the Waco raid, it looks almost identical. The building is laid out exactly the same and the silos in the same place. The only real difference, at least from this picture, is that there is no tower. But you can see on the left side of the photograph that is where the bridge on Oregon would be, and on the right side the building looks almost similar on the roof. But that's not where the references stop. There's a ton of references inside the map, especially in the artwork on the walls. As you walk around the map, you can see a lot of posters and also drawings by kids, as well as propaganda and stuff written on walls. All of this is under the theme of what the people who lived in the cult would be feeling during the Waco raid. Probably the biggest one that people know about is the gorilla poster in the classroom stating, "Not my ancestors." I believe this is a reference to the basis of the cult, which was primarily Christianity based as far as I can tell, and there's other references that point to what the children would feel like inside of the Waco compound. There's a ton of kids' drawings throughout the walls, especially in the kids' room. The drawings depict the kids' parents as heroes and the government agents as the bad guys. You can see that they're drawn with these weird suits and always pointed as the bad guys. And all these drawings of mommy and daddy show how well armed the Branch Davidians actually were. And this is why the ATF initially raided them. The cult members really loved their guns and weren't afraid to show it. There's a lot of posters around the map that are pretty much just pro-gun propaganda. It talks about how guns are their life and it's the pride that they take in their weaponry. And on top of that, it's not necessarily a reference itself, but the room, the armory, in the second floor shows just how well these guys would have been armed. And then there are some other posters that are showing anti-government sentiments, calling the government tyrants. As for other quote-unquote art across the map, there's a lot of spellings on the walls. The big ones are saying, "Remember us, leave us, and die," which I feel like these sentiments would have been pointed towards the agents that were raiding the compound. And then there's some other markings on the wall showing how the cult members must have felt like while they were being raided. There's a lot of tally marks across the map showing that they would have been counting down the days for how long the raid has been going on. And then there's also one message on the front bench in the main lobby saying, "Still alive." This is showing their resilience and how they were willing to fight to the bitter end. And you can even see calendars around the map that have a date circled on them, April 14th. However, upon further inspection, I found out that this calendar would not have been from 1993, which is when the Waco raid happened. Instead, it was from 1992. I'm not sure if this was intentional or not, but it feels kind of weird that Ubisoft would put the exact month and also close to the same date, but use a different year. And then there's one Easter egg that ties into the Rainbow Six universe instead of the real-life universe, and that is the whiteboard in the meeting hall. It shows the layout of Hereford Base, which basically makes it seem like the cult members were planning on raiding Hereford Base. In actuality, that did not at all happen at the Waco raid because Hereford Base is based out of the UK. There's no way that these cult members would have planned a raid across a different continent, and especially over the Atlantic Sea. So I think of it more as a nice tie into the Rainbow Six universe and try to connect the maps to one another, and not as actually something that happened or a reference to the Waco raid. And in the final, and I think absolute biggest Easter egg, is how the developers managed to get a poster of my girlfriend and post it on the master bedroom wall. I'm truly touched that the developers felt the need to make an Easter egg about me and add it to the game. It definitely shows that they really appreciate what I've done for their community and all the videos that I've made. And that'll conclude the history section of this video. This map is by far the most historically accurate map in the game, as it is completely based around a real-life event. Many of the details are down to the T, and I highly recommend looking up the Waco raid yourself if you're interested in finding out more. It really is a very interesting event to look into, and after I mentioned it to Rob one time while we were playing, he could not stop looking it up. There are some really fucked up details I really don't want to get into in this video, but it's definitely an interesting read. Now we're going to move on to the general layout and callouts of each of the rooms on the map. Last time in the comments you guys told me that you didn't like the awkward pauses I left to just let you read all of the callouts, so this time I'm going to go through them and let you know the important ones. And before we get into it, I would just like to give you guys a fair warning. The callouts I use and the callouts that I'm familiar with might not be the ones that are either used in Pro League or by a lot of other players. Me and my group of friends have very specific terminology that we reuse for a lot of different places just because of what we're used to, and it might not be consistent with what the rest of the community calls it. The important thing to remember about these callouts is to remember what the physical object is that it's referencing and a different terminology used to describe it. But anyways, let's get into the callouts and layout. Oregon has 4 floors, and we're going to start with the basement. The basement is broken into 5 core sections, the first one being laundry room. The important callouts to remember here are the machine corner, which is also known as laundry machine, and the closet. The closet has 2 corners, either desk corner or immediate corner / default corner. The names change a lot. The closet is where a lot of people hide and usually contest on secure area, and the laundry machine is where a lot of people plant on bomb. The supply room is the room immediately next to laundry room. The only callouts you really need to know are the closet where a lot of people hide, as well as the connector wall. Most teams will open up this wall, that way they can rotate between the 2 rooms and defend both bomb sites, or if it's a different game mode, that way they don't get stuck in one room. And then we have the laundry hallway, which is the only way to go through the basement in one go, without having to break down any walls. The only important callout to know here is the corner hatch, where a lot of people from meeting hall will drop to go into the basement if they're attacking basement objective. And the 4th room is construction, which in actuality should only be the room on the right with all the blue mats, but I decided to combine it with the red hallway and closet since those rooms didn't have any significant callouts on their own. Red hall in itself can be an important callout because a lot of people will push through there when they're pushing from construction. If you reinforce the closet wall, they have no way to get to the hallway without going through the red hall. And one other important callout is the outside corner. This is where the attackers will push through if they're going through the construction site and they want to go into the basement. If you decide to be very aggressive and hold the blue room, then you can peek them and know that they're hiding in that corner. And the last basement room is the tower stairs. There's 2 important callouts here, the stairs landing and the boxes. A lot of people when pushing tower will go into stairs landing and lay down, and you can see down the entire laundry hallway. So they usually try to get a pick or 2 there. And if they manage to get to the bottom stairs, a lot of people will hide behind the boxes because there are some shelves there that they can hide behind and then try to peek down the red hallway if any defenders are over there. Defenders can also hide here trying to prevent the attackers from pushing through blue room and red hall. And now we'll move on to the first floor, which is fucking massive. It has over 11 rooms that we're going to go through, and I won't be giving too many detailed descriptions on them just because there's so many rooms. First room is the garage. There's really nothing important here besides the railing. A lot of attackers will push into the garage and use the railing to peek into the meeting hall left door. And because railings can apparently absorb unlimited bullets, a lot of attackers will be safe here from defenders trying to shoot back at them. So it's a very good call to give if you're defending to let defenders know not to peek. And this is the main hall / main entrance. It also includes classroom, which is a little room on the left that I was going to make its own separate room at the beginning. But realistically, the only callout you need to make for classroom is classroom itself if someone's in there. The other important callouts to know are that the laundry stairs is a staircase going downwards, and the armory stairs is a staircase going upwards. And also the laundry peak wall. This is something that a lot of people call different names, but I always call it laundry peak or laundry wall, is the wall right next to the hatch. If you're attacking and they're defending in the basement, you want to open up that wall so you can see into the laundry closet. And this is meeting hall. I know there's a lot of callouts to show on the screen, but really there's only a few important ones you need to know. The corner hatch and the construction hatch both drop into the basement, construction hatch drops into the electric room, and the corner hatch drops into the hallway that I mentioned earlier. The podium and stage is somewhere where a lot of defenders like to hide, and usually like to hide behind the sandbags on the stage. The pews is also somewhere where a lot of defenders like to hide, as you can lie down and kind of get hidden over there. The sandbag / table next to the kitchen wall is also a popular point because you can use it to hold the tower door. And lastly, the front walls are popular for both attackers and defenders to know because attackers usually open it up to see into meeting hall, and defenders need to know which ones are going to be broken. This is the rear stage, although it's commonly referred to as the main floor of tower. The big callouts are for defenders when attackers are pushing. Most attackers will be pushing through the construction door, but sometimes they'll be peeking in through north door towards meeting hall. For attackers, you want to know about the stairs landing because a lot of defenders like to hold up there and just peek towards north door as there's a very tight angle you can hold. Heading back to the west side of the map, we have kitchen, and the big callout here is the island. A lot of defenders like to hold that because you can peek towards the dining door or the hall door, and it's very hard for the attackers to see you. And if they're feeling a little bit ballsy, they can even push up towards the fridges. It's very easy to see down the main hallway through there. And this is bathroom. Realistically, there's nothing important to call out here besides the kitchen walls and the stalls, although almost no one will hide in there. Ultimately, the biggest call out you'll get for this room is that the fact that there is someone in bathroom. And this is the hallway outside of bathroom, commonly referred to as bathroom hallway. And the biggest call out here is the white stairs that leads up to the kids' dorm room / dorm hall. And there's also the shower wall, but honestly I find it very rare that that wall ever gets opened. And this is showers. It's most commonly used for spawn peeking from the office window, and defenders trying to hold angles from the bathtub / lockers to peek at that same window. And this is the dining hallway. It's technically the same hallway as the bathroom hallway, but I figure I'd split them into two. The only important callouts you need to know here is the dining wall that not many people will breach because really it's not worth the risk because you're exposing yourself to the entire hallway. And there's also the corner at the end of the hall, which a lot of defenders will try to peek towards the office / small tower. And this is the dining room. I'm pretty sure the official name is dining hall, but I prefer dining room just to eliminate any confusion between this and the hallway. There's a few big callouts. The silo doors where a lot of attackers will push if you're defending dining room itself. Tables is where a lot of defenders will try to hold and just lay down behind these tables. The default corner is also where a lot of defenders will try to hold because they can stand on top of that table and just peek whenever they need to. And you can still watch the hallway from that same angle. And the office wall is where a lot of attackers will breach just because the wall right in front of them is completely indestructible, so it makes for good cover from the defenders. And this is the office, although a lot of people call it the small tower. The big callout is the main window where a lot of attackers will peek down the hallway just so they can prevent any defenders from moving through the hallway. And in the dining room wall is the same wall I talked about before that a lot of attackers like to breach. And that concludes the massive first floor. Now we're going to move on to the second floor. And this is the armory. A lot of attackers will usually use this room to try to push the top floor. They'll break down the armory wall and then hide behind the island peeking down the hallway. For defenders, a lot of them will like to hide in either the default corner or the locker corner. Default corners if they're pushing through the main stairs, whereas the locker corners if they're pushing through the window. And this is the master bedroom hallway. Sometimes people will also call it armory hallway. The names are kind of exchangeable here because master bedroom and armory are both very important on the top floor. This also goes for the staircase. Sometimes people will call it armory stairs, other times people will call it master bedroom stairs. The important call to know is the bridge wall, which a lot of defenders will break in order to roam through the bridge, or that they'll reinforce and the attackers will break in order to get onto the top floor. This is master bedroom, which includes the small closet on the left side. Closet wall is incredibly important because a lot of defenders will try to hold that and attackers will try to push it in order to get into the dorm rooms. And a lot of attackers will rappel up onto the balcony in order to push the master bed. Defenders can hide behind the bed or the dresser in order to try to hold the balcony windows and door. And this is the bunk bed / hallway. This is two separate rooms, but I just combined them into one for the callouts. The big two callouts to know is the white corner, which is right next to the white staircase. A lot of defenders like to hold this, and the bridge window. When attackers are pushing, you don't want to be caught out by the bunk bed since the bridge window can peek right into there. Opening up the connector wall can really help with this because if they breach that window, then defenders can easily rotate from the bunk beds to the white corner. And this is kids' room. A lot of defenders will usually hide in the dresser corner or behind the island away from the windows. They can also open up the kitchen hatch in case the attackers are pushing the windows. They can drop into the kitchen and rotate back through white stairs. It's also very common to reinforce the two kids' walls and then leave the rotation open with an impact hole. That way you can move between the dorms room and the kids' room. In this room I like to call dorms. I think officially it's called dorms main hall, but realistically dorms is just easier. The three big callouts are the default corner where a lot of attackers will run in to hide after they've jumped in through the large window, and the other two callouts are the mattress and the rotation hole. The rotation hole is what I mentioned with kids' room. A lot of defenders open it up so they can move through there, and the mattress is the one thing blocking the view from the rotation hole to the large window. The mattress can be shot through, so keep that in mind when you're attacking or rotating through there as a defender. And then there's the second floor of the office / small tower. Something interesting I learned is that the spectator mode actually does not show anything for the second floor of the tower. It just toggles between the bottom floor and the roof of it, even though there is a second floor technically. Luckily there's no important callouts there just because it's one small balcony and that's it. Really the only important call you need to know is the east side window of the small tower. A lot of people like to peek there or run out through there, so just keep that in mind. Most people will just call it small tower window. Moving back towards the tower, we have the bridge. Most defenders open up the tower wall and the dorms wall in order to rotate through here, and that opens up access to the entire second floor. The only call to note if they decide to reinforce the walls and hide up there is the window on the west side of the bridge. and the sandbags right next to it where they can hide behind, and it's bulletproof. And this is the second floor of the tower, the last room on the second floor. Really, there aren't many callouts to be made here because most people will not spend any time here. Most people will only pass through there just to get to the ladder to get to the top of the tower or to get to the bridge. If they are going to be up there, they're very likely going to be peeking out through the bridge windows. And this is the last room on the map, the top floor of the tower. This is a place that mainly only defenders will go since they're trying to peek towards the attackers. There's the west side window, aka the peek window, which a lot of defenders will use to peek towards the dining hall. And then there's the south side window, which they'll use to peek towards the main gate. And that is it for the callout / layout portion of the video. Now we're going to move on to the objective portion. Basically, I'm going to go through the game modes and talk about which sites are the best to defend and why. I'll be adding on to a lot of the stuff I talked about in the callout portion, so in case if you skip that part, you might want to watch it. And the first game mode we're going to talk about is bomb. And personally, I think the best site to defend for bomb is the kids' dorm / dorms main site. During the layout portion of the video, I did talk about 2 rotation holes that defenders normally make in the dorms area. One between kids' room and dorms main, and another between the bunk bedroom and the hallway. I think these 2 rotation holes can easily win it for any defending team because it's very easy to move between the 2 sites and know where the attackers are pushing from. You can rotate from the kids' room to the dorms room and immediately peek down the armory hallway. And you can do the same thing from the white stairs corner. You can peek right through the rotation hole and see down the hall. And as well, the most common spot for the attackers to defuse the bomb is the default corner in the dorm's main hall. Which means that if you're holding kids' room, all you have to do is just shoot through the mattress and you can easily kill them as you're trying to defuse the bomb. And something I want to cover that I didn't do in the last video is where the bomb can be defused on site. The area surrounded in red is where the attackers can defuse the bomb. Anywhere outside that, they can't. So you know these are the important areas to protect. The next best bomb site to defend is the laundry room / supply room on the basement floor. Basically, you open up the connector wall and reinforce all the hatches to basement. Then you have people watching construction / tower stairs, and you have some people watching the laundry room stairs. The reason why this is such a good site is because it's very hard for the attackers to play vertically. They can open up the hatches, but they really can't do much from there. The only hatch that really gives them the advantage is the laundry room hatch, because they can actually sit up there and shoot into their room, whereas the other 2 hatches in the meeting hall really don't give them any benefit besides just being able to drop down. And if you're defending the site, remember it's very important to defend the laundry machine in the laundry room. Most attacking teams, when they're looking to defuse, will run in there and jump on top of the machine and defuse the bomb there. This way they can watch it from above through the hatch, and it's very hard for the defenders to jump on there and start defusing it without getting shot at least once. And these are the areas where the attackers can defuse the bomb. So unlike secure area, it's important to note that the staircase does not count as objective site for bomb game mode. You have to get to the bottom of the staircase before you can start defusing. Although in my test I did find something weird. If you're at the bottom of the staircase and turn around facing towards the stairs, you can actually defuse the bomb there. Realistically, this serves no benefit for attackers because you don't want your diffuser to just be sitting in the middle of the room open to fire. But it is a cool little thing to know. And the third best site to defend is the kitchen / dining hall site. Generally what you want to do is open up the wall between dining hall and kitchen, that way you can peek from the kitchen towards the silo door and they can't push in through there. However, like I said in the callout portion of the video, a lot of attackers will push from the small tower / office wall. They'll breach that wall and just plant in the indestructible corner. Unfortunately, as defenders, there's really not much you can do to prevent this beyond just reacting to it. Having a defender sit in default corner can help a lot as they can make the call as soon as they hear someone starting to plant. This gives the defenders time to get back to site and try to disarm the diffuser. And here are the areas where the attackers can't arm the diffuser. It's important to note that they can't arm it inside of the closet in kitchen. So you don't ever have to worry about the attackers arming it inside there. And now we're on to the final bomb site, the rear stage / tower site. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I'm not going to bother wasting my time talking about this objective. There's absolutely no time you should ever be going this objective. It is a horrible site to defend and is just asking for you to lose. Yes, it is possible to win it, but in a match where everyone's at even skill level, you'll always lose this site. And there's never a time where you should actually be defending the site. If you're in a ranked match and everyone keeps winning defending, by the time you get to the 4th defending round, it's overtime and you'll be able to choose one of the better sites. So just don't ever go rear stage / tower site. Do yourself a favor and win the match by going somewhere else. And now we're going to move on to the secure area game mode. I'm going to try to save some of my time and some of your time and kind of skip over a few things when talking about some objectives for this game mode. For the most part, you'll be defending the secure area sites the exact same way you'd be defending the bomb sites. However, I will list a few differences in how you defend them. Now going into objectives, dorms is still the best site to defend on secure area. Personally, I think you should defend it the exact same way that you defend bomb. Make those 2 rotation holes and just try to cover the hallways and the big window. Even the area that's considered objective site for a bomb is the exact same as the objective area for the secure area. So really there's almost no difference between the two. And now the second best site for secure area is the laundry room. For the most part, you'll be defending the same way as bomb, except for a few exceptions. It's not absolutely necessary to get the hatches in the meeting hall like you do on bomb, but I still find it very useful. The main difference between defending secure area and bomb is the fact that the stairs to the laundry room actually count as the objective zone. So the attackers can contest just by simply walking onto the staircase. This means watching from the hallway and the closet won't work as well because if you have no one on site, they can easily secure with the defenders not being able to do anything about it. So if you really want to hold the site, then you have to have someone sitting inside the closet, either in the default corner or the closet corner. This way you always have someone contesting it and you force the attackers to push down the staircase, or they can, just kind of sit there forever. And the third best site is the meeting hall room. Since this isn't a bomb objective, I can talk a little bit more about this one. Meeting hall has a lot of ups and downs, the big down being the fact that there's a lot of walls to sight in almost every direction except for from the east side. And on top of that, the bridge above it has a hatch, so if the attackers take that over, they can pretty much see everywhere into the room. However, the plus side is it's a lot easier to hold when roaming. And it's very easy to leave the site and roam at any point. There's 2 hatches on site that you can break and you can drop into the basement. Then you can either go to tower or to the main door. If the attackers don't suspect you can easily flank them and get a kill. Otherwise, you can provide pressure or wait until the last second to push them. If you reinforce the site right, the attackers generally can only get max 1 or 2 walls open. The main thing is just to prevent them from taking over bridge. And if you have defenders up there on bridge, you can easily watch the doorways and prevent the attackers from pushing in. So the main thing is just to hold the bridge. However, just remember that the hatch from the bridge can't see everything. It can see a lot, just not everything. So if you're defending through the hatch and the attackers are securing objective, there are places they can hide where you cannot get them through the hatch, so you'll have to drop down. And you can only contest the site from the meeting hall itself. You can't contest it from the little closet or from the bridge upstairs. So once the attackers have a clear site, it's very easy for them to take it over. This is what you have to prevent. Just make sure the site is never empty or make sure that they just can't get in. And the worst site for secure area I think is dining hall. I have had people argue with me over this in ranked, saying that they'd rather define dining hall than meeting hall, but personally I disagree. It has the same issues that I mentioned in the bomb game mode where they can easily just break the wall from office and then just hide in that corner. And on top of that, if they're at silo door, all they have to do is just watch the 2 doorways from kitchen and the hallway and they can prevent anyone from running back inside. It doesn't really help that you can't really have anyone sitting on site because the silo door lets the attacker see into the entire room. The only place you can hide from the silo door is on the default corner that I mentioned before for bomb. And seeing as how the objective area is so small, I highly recommend against picking this site. And now we're moving on to the hostage game mode. Since I've already gone into such great detail for every single room for all the past objectives, I'm not really going to be talking about the room itself for hostage. I'm just going to give quick information about why I think one objective is better than the other. I think the best objective for hostage is supply room. The main reason is because it's in the basement, so there's no immediate windows to leave site. And on top of that, there's only 3 possible paths that the attackers can take to escort the hostage outside. One's through the tower stairs, the other one's through construction, and the last one's through the laundry. Each of these paths are pretty long and put the attackers at risk of dying while escorting the hostage. The next best site for hostage I believe is meeting hall, primarily for the same reasons as supply room. There's no immediate windows to the site, so the attackers can't just grab the hostage and jump out right away. And on top of that, you can defend it the exact same way that I described the secure area defend. Reinforce all the walls and then watch the doorways. They have to run in and grab the hostage. They can't just stay in the room and contest it, they actually have to get to the middle of it. And the hatch watches right over the hostage. It's very easy to pick them off as they come in. And when they leave, they really only have 2 paths, assuming no walls are broken. They can either leave through the tower or they can go through the main lobby. And the third best site I think is kitchen. The reason why I didn't choose it over meeting hall is because the objectives are a lot smaller, so it's very hard to stay on site to defend. And hostage is very much a stay on site game mode. However, once the attackers grab the hostage, they do have to run a lot farther than in meeting hall. They can either run through dining hall and go through the silo door, or they can go through the hallway to either the white stairs window or the main lobby. But just because the site's so small, I definitely rank it under meeting hall. And I think dorm rooms is the worst objective for hostage, simply because the hostage is right next to the large window. It's incredibly easy for the attacking team to either flash or smoke out the entire room, run in, grab the hostage, and immediately jump out the window. You don't want to give the attackers an easy escape. Alright, and we are done with the objective portion of the video, and now I'm going to move on to a new portion that a lot of people were asking for in the comments for the last video. A lot of people want to know about operators, and which operators were best for which maps. So I decided to add it to this video, and I'm going to go through them. The way I'm going to structure it is a tier system. There will be operators that are must picks for every single round, and followed by best picks, which are operators that I think work in at least 3 of the 4 objectives, and then there's good operators which I think work in at least 2 of the 4 objectives, and then there's the bottom tier operators which only work in 1 or even none of the objectives. And before we get into the operators, I will give you guys a fair warning. There will be no footage throughout this entire portion. When I'm talking about an operator, I'll just put up their profile on the screen and that's it. The reason for this is because the situations I'm talking about are incredibly specific for the most part, and finding footage for every single operator for every single situation will be very hard. So sorry about that guys, but hopefully you still find it at least somewhat useful. And we'll start with the attacking operators. I think there's only one must-pick operator, and that's Hibana. No matter what the objective is, Hibana always works. If they're in the basement, Hibana can get all the hatches. If they go top floor, she can break the master bedroom closet wall. If they go dining room, she can break the small office wall. And then if they go meeting hall, she can break any of the walls to the objective or to the bridge. She's just overall a must-have operator for this map. And then there are 6 best pick operators. The ones I chose were Blackbeard, Thatcher, Twitch, Buck, Sledge, and Ash. I think Blackbeard works really well if they go dining, dorms, or basement, but I don't really see him contributing anything to meeting hall that other operators couldn't do. Thatcher's the best pick because he combos really well with Hibana and can open any of the walls, but he's not always necessary. For example, in meeting hall it's very hard to block every single wall so Hibana can still break through regardless. And Twitch is for the same reason as Thatcher. She complements Hibana really well and can be used to destroy a lot of gadgets. Buck and Sledge are really interchangeable, and I chose them primarily because they have a lot of destruction. And combo with the fact that they have grenades, and a lot of the objectives on this map involve people hiding in corners or in areas where they'll just wait for the attackers to push. These grenades can be used to take those people out of those corners. And then there's Ash just because she's overall just an amazing operator, but And there's Ash just because overall she's just an amazing operator, but not always necessary. And for the good tier I chose IQ, Capitao, Thermite, Ying, Jackal, and Monty. IQ and Capitao are kind of interchangeable in their same situation as Buck and Sledge, minus the destruction. IQ's grenades and Capitao's firebolts are good for zoning people out, and getting them out of those corners. Although I did say Hibana's a must-have because of her destruction, I think Thermite just doesn't work as well as her. You don't necessarily need to open up walls entirely, you just need holes big enough for people to crouch walk through. And for each site there's generally only one wall or one hatch that needs to be opened, so you really don't need Thermite. Ying is good simply for her flashes and her smokes. It's really good to cover other people and to help push into the objective. Jackal I said is good not necessarily for any objective, but just for the fact that he can counter roamers, and Oregon's a huge map so there will be a lot of roamers. And the last in the good tier is Monty simply because he's really good for pushing dining hall and basement. And the bottom tier operators for this map I think are Blitz, Glaz, and Fuse. I'm not going to go into much detail, I just don't think they really work that well in this map. It's not to say that you can't use them at all, I just don't think they bring anything to the table that can't be brought by someone else. And now we'll move on to the defenders. For the defenders, there's actually no must-haves. I went through the entire list and I couldn't really think of anyone that you need to have for every single objective every single time. But we'll move on to the best picks. For best picks I chose Mute and Bandit, these two are interchangeable. And then there's Ella, Mira, and Smoke. Mute and Bandit are really good for blocking off the walls to either meeting hall, basement, or dining hall, but they're really not that necessary in the dorms. Ella is just an overall really good roamer, and she can lay her Grismods down in the common corners where I said attackers would push. That way when they push there, they get Grismodded and defenders can push to kill them. Mira I think works really well in kitchen, basement, and dorms. You can set up her mirrors to watch the common spots on-site from off-site, and just make calls as the attackers push in. And the last one is Smoke, who's just overall good at denying the objective to the attackers. Especially on a map like Oregon where there's a lot of narrow hallways and only 1 or 2 entrances to each objective, you can just put your smokes at the door and block them from coming in. And for the good tier I chose 6 operators: Valkyrie, Pulse, Jaeger, Legion, Doc, and Rook. Valkyrie and Pulse are both good for the same reasons, they're really good at intel, and I think they're best suited for dorms and basement. Jaeger's just an overall good roamer, but I don't really see how he works in dining hall or in meeting hall. Either the attackers will be able to destroy his ADSs easily, or they just won't really get used. And I think Legion's okay for dorms and basement, but not really that good for dining or for meeting hall, just because those rooms have so many entrances and aren't really funneled like the other objectives. And then Doc and Rook I think work on every single objective, but they're not must-haves just because they're good guns and good abilities. Their abilities don't do anything that guarantee you the win on the objective. And then for the bottom tier there's Castle, Capcan, Tachanka, Frost, Cav, and Echo. And like I said for the bottom tier of attackers, I'm sure you could easily use them, they just don't bring anything special to the table that's absolutely necessary. Alright, and that is it for the operators. Since this was a new section, please let me know what you think about it, and let me know how I can improve it. And now we're going to move on to destructibility, specifically vertical destructibility. Really the only vertical destructibility is from the dorms and armory area down to the main lobby and kitchen area. Bridge has some destructibility too, but it's pretty much negligible, and the hatch provides more vision than any of the floor being broken. And then there's absolutely no vertical destructibility into the basement besides the hatches, at least as far as I know. There's 4 key areas that are actually really good to use for vertical destructibility, and I think you guys should know about them. The first one is from the master bedroom to the main hall hatch. You can open the floor and see from the master bedroom straight to the hatch, which is really good to destroy Hibanas or Thermites if the enemy team is not aware. And then if you break enough of the floor, you can also see towards the main door. This one's a little bit more risky and I probably wouldn't recommend it. And the second spot is from the kids' room to see the window to white stairs. You can impact or shotgun the floor, and then if you angle yourself you can see straight to the windows, and if attacker decides to jump through there you can easily pick them off. And the third area is the armory floor. The army floor looks straight into the garage, and you can easily open up the entire floor to see everywhere in garage. So this will either make the attackers not want to push there at all out of fear of being shot from above, or will lead to a few kills if they don't notice it. And then lastly, probably the most common spot is breaking the floor on top of the armory stairs. If you break the floor there, you can see straight into the laundry staircase, which is really good for secure area. If they're pushing there and trying to contest, you can just break the floor above and then shoot them as they're holding that staircase. Obviously, you can use these locations on either attacking or defending, but they much more favor the defending side. And I'm going to move on to the last topic of the video, which is going to be default cameras. There are a total of 7 default cameras on this map. There are 3 outside and 4 inside. There's the parking camera, which is right next to the street spawn for attackers. And then there's the junkyard camera, which is right next to the junkyard spawn for attackers. And then there's the construction site camera, which is right next to the construction site spawn for attackers. And like I said, there's 4 cameras inside. There's one in the corner on the main floor of the tower. And there's one in the middle of the main hall right next to the meeting hall. And then there's one at the corner between the dining hallway and the bathroom hallway. And then there's one on the second floor in the army or master bedroom hallway in the corner, which means that there's absolutely no cameras downstairs in the basement. Oregon probably has one of the fewest default cameras out of any of the original maps, so it's not too hard to learn where the cameras are on this map. Alright, and that's going to conclude today's episode of Siege School. I know normally I do quizzes at the end of these episodes, but I think for map knowledge videos, the quizzes don't really fit the format. The whole point of the map knowledge is that I'm supposed to go through every single part of the map and tell you guys a lot about it. And then when I'm trying to make questions for the quiz, I have to purposely avoid information just so I won't give away the answer for the quiz later. So I'd much rather just spill out all the information I can right now, instead of actually having to withhold information and forgetting to tell you guys about it later if I forget. So hopefully you guys aren't too upset about there being no quiz, but I will continue doing the quizzes for the normal Siege School episodes, just not for the map knowledge. But even though there's no quiz, I'm still going to do my usual 2 plugs before I go. Plug number 1, I stream Siege every single day on Twitch. I start stream every day at noon Eastern Standard Time and usually go until about 4 PM or until I'm getting tired or hungry. And usually I try to be pretty informational when I play. I describe what I'm doing and what I'm thinking so I can try to teach people how to play the game like me. So if you want to watch, just follow the link on the screen or in the description below. And the second plug is I do have a merch store with a Siege School shirt available. I also have a few other designs on the store if you want to take a look. The link's down below in the description. And that's it for my plugs, and that's it for the video. Thank you everyone for watching. I know this was a really long video, but I tried to put in as much information as possible. There was actually a lot of other information that I wanted to cover, but I felt the video would be too long, and I know a lot of people were saying that they preferred the shorter version. In the future, I'll try to add in that information if I have time. If I'm being honest, I've stayed up until 2 AM the night before this video is supposed to go live, trying to finish everything and edit everything down. So honestly, I just didn't have the time to add the rest of the information. In the future, I'll try, but let me know what you guys think. Anyways, again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Take care.